this morning's meditation, let us look at Numbers chapter 27, beginning from verse 12. The Lord said to Moses, "Go up into this mountain of Abarim and see the land that I have given to the people of Israel. When you have seen it, you also shall be gathered to your people, as your brother Aaron was, because you rebelled against my word in the wilderness of Sin." Then the congregation quarreled, failing to uphold me as holy at the waters before their eyes. These are the waters of Meribah of Kadesh in the wilderness of Sin. Moses spoke to the Lord, saying, "Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, appoint a man over the congregation, who shall go out before them and come in before them, who shall lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord may not be as sheep that have no shepherd." So the Lord said to Moses, "Take Joshua, the son of Nun, a man in whom is a spirit, and lay your hand on him. Make him stand before Eleazar the priest and all the congregation, and you shall commission him in their sight. You shall invest him with some of your authority, that all the congregation of the people of Israel may obey. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire for him by the judgment of the Urim before the Lord. At his word they shall go out, and at his word they shall come in. Both he and all the people of Israel with him, the whole congregation." And Moses did as the Lord commanded him. He took Joshua and made him stand before Eleazar the priest and the whole congregation, and he laid his hands on him and commissioned him as the Lord directed through Moses. The previous chapter records the command of God to Moses to take a second census of Israel. The purpose of this census was to determine the portion of the land to be allocated to each tribe when they enter into the promised land. God reveals his mind concerning the sharing of resources. The proportion of the land given by him to each tribe was not based on their contribution to the commonwealth or by their ability or usefulness, but rather according to the number of people. That is, their need for living space and farmland. This means that when we hoard money or other resources, we are taking an unduly large share of what should have been given to those who need more. A fascinating incident recorded here demonstrates the faith of the daughters of Zelophehad. Their father had died in the wilderness and they had no brothers. Under existing social laws, their father's property would be inherited by his brothers. They came forward to ask Moses to give them an inheritance as a natural heirs of their father. The Lord granted their request and commanded Moses to make it a statute and rule. Here we see God taking care to keep each family's name and possession alive within the tribe. Later in the book of Numbers, God makes it clear that his grant of land to each tribe is non-transferable, so that each tribe will retain the cities and surrounding suburbs that they have been given. For this reason, Zelophehad's daughters were under the mandate to marry within their tribe and carry on the family name. One thing that stands out in this incident is how these women believed in and asked for their father's inheritance, just as though they had already entered Canaan and received the land. He had died in the wilderness, and the land of Canaan was still only a promise to earthly eyes. But they spoke about missing out on their rightful inheritance, just as if they were already in the possession of the land. They believed that Israel would inherit the land, just as the Lord had promised. Here Moses is taken up Mount Abarim to see the promised land from a distance. He told him that he was about to die without entering the land. God reminded him of the reason for his death before entering Canaan. He rebelled against his word and failed to uphold God as holy. Misrepresenting the holy God by our words and actions is something God takes very seriously. We see Moses accepting God's punishment with meekness. He knew that he would not enter the promised land, but still continued to faithfully discharge the duties that were entrusted to him by the Lord to the very end. We see the census taken, the case of daughters of Zelophehad. All was handled with no bitterness or dejection. We also see here the heart of a shepherd in Moses. His immediate concern on hearing about his impending death was, let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, appoint a man over the congregation who shall go before them and come in before them, who shall lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord may not be as sheep that have no shepherd. Recognizing the sovereignty of God over all living beings, he acknowledged God's wisdom as superior to his own. This was despite the fact that he had led the people for 40 years from the time that they were slaves in Egypt. He knew those who were faithful to the Lord and who were not. Yet, he did not lean on his experience or understanding. Instead, he wanted God to appoint the right man to lead the people. He rightly recognizes the people as a congregation of the Lord. He acknowledges that they belong to the Lord and it is his responsibility to lead the people to the land which he had promised them. Yet, he also sees the need of a human shepherd to go out before them and come in before them, a man to lead them. God names Joshua the son of Nun. His only qualification mentioned here is in whom is the Spirit. Even today, the only qualification to lead the people of God is that man should be led by the Spirit. This was the same criteria the apostles were looking for when they had to take people to lead the daily distribution of food in Acts chapter 6 and verse 3. We read, therefore, brothers, pick out from among you 7 men of good repute, full of the Spirit and of wisdom, whom we will appoint to this duty. We also see Moses laying his hands on Joshua. Moses was investing Joshua with the authority that the Lord had given him to lead Israel. Laying on of hands is mentioned as a fundamental doctrine in Hebrews chapter 6 as sharing authority in this manner. Paul says in to Timothy in 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 14, do not neglect the gift you have, which was given you by prophecy, and the council of elders laid their hands on you. The apostles also did the same to those who were taken to serve the tables in chapter 6 of Acts chapter 6. These they set before the apostles and they prayed and laid their hands on them. In the spiritual world, to designate a person in this way is to confer honor on him as well, equipping him to lead. God equips those whom he calls because they are full of the Spirit. Outward recognition of God's call is necessary when a man is spiritually qualified. The chapter ends on a serene note as Moses obeys the Lord in carrying out his word. In verse 22, and Moses did as the Lord commanded him. He took Joshua and made him stand before Eleazar the priest and the whole congregation. And he laid his hands on him and commissioned him as the Lord directed through Moses. Yet Joshua was under the judgment of Urim, a constant reminder that God was their king. May the Lord grant us the grace to pass the baton to the future generation without any envy and with hope to leave the stage once our work is done. God bless.